Need help with Farkle? No problem. Let's see what we can do about that. Farkle is a great addictive 6-dice game that you can play with your opponent or challenger of your wish. The objective is quite easy. The first person, or the person with the highest score that achieves over 10,000 points at the end of the round, is declared the winner. So let's put that in another perspective. Let's say I'm playing the game against a challenger and opponent. I achieved the 10,000 points first, and my challenger and my opposer failed to get to the 10,000, then I will win that game. However, if you both achieve over 10,000 points in that particular round, the person with the highest score will win that game. And then lastly, of course, if your opponent scores 10,000 first or gets the highest points over 10,000 in that round, then you will lose that game. The game consists of 6 dice. You can roll as many times as you want before passing it to your opponent or challenger. But the catch is that you try not to get a Farkle. And what a Farkle is that if you roll your 6 dice and you do not achieve any points in that round, you will get a Farkle. So what are the points? Well, the points consist of a lot of different ways. If you roll any die that consists of 1s, 5s, or 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, 5 of a kind, and even 6 of a kind, or 6 pairs, or straight. Now the straight has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has to be a large straight, and all 6 dice have to be in a straight to get the straight. Now each of these way of points will earn you certain scores of what they're valued for. For example, if I roll a 1, 1s are considered 100 points each. Now, the more 1s you roll in a single roll, the more points you'll receive. 5s are worth 50 points, and ditto with 1s. Now, when you get a 3 of a kind, that'll be based on the die that you just rolled. So, for example, if I roll 3 2s, I get 200 points. So if you roll 3 3s, you get 300 points. Roll 3 4s, you get 400 points. And so on with 5 and 6s. If you get 4 of a kind of a rule of thumb is that you just basically double what that value is worth for 3 of a kind. For example, 3 2s are worth 200 points, but 4 2s are worth 400 points. So another example is if I get 3 3s, those are worth 300s. And if I get 4 3s, you double that and you get 600 points. And that goes with 4s, 5s, and 6s. The 1s are worth a lot more when you get a lot more in a row at the same times. And you can see a lot of these scoring if you're interested in finding more about the scores and how much they're worth in each of these rolls. You can find them in the rules section, and I will get to that. Now, there is one thing to note, that if you get all 6 die worth some sort of points, you are given kind of a free roll first, say. So if you have, let's say I get 3 2s in a roll, of course that's 200 points. And the next roll I get 3 3s, which is worth 300 points. So you now have a combination value of 500 points because of the 3 2s for 200 and the 3 3s for 500. Now, because all 6 die have been used for points, you can go ahead and re-roll, and hopefully you don't get a Farkle. If you want to press your luck, you will receive 6 new die, and you'll roll once again on top of what you already achieved. So if I got 500 points, I roll again, I get 6 die, and once again, hopefully I don't get Farkle. Now we'll give you a few examples how the games work. As I roll a 1, I can take that 1 for 100 points and take two options. I can either go take it and bank it for 100 points and pass my turn to my opponent, my challengers, for his or her turn. Or I can press my luck and hit the roll button and try to continue to get more points in a single round. So if I got a 1, I can just select on that 1. I'll just take my chance, and what you'll do is that you take the 1 onto the side, leaves you 5 dice left, and then roll again with 5 dice. So the less dice you have, the higher chance that you're pressing your luck about getting a Farkle. So for the next round I get 3 threes, so that's 300 points plus the 1 I just got. That makes 400 points. So at this point, once again, you have the option to either bank it and pass it to your opponent or challenger, or you can press your luck and keep going. That's what makes the game so much fun. It's all about luck. Some may say there's some skills involved, but that's for you to find out. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and give you the layout for those with voiceover and give you an idea how the Farkle page is laid out. My first set of initial review of this, I'm going to give you the layout by finger flicking, and then I'm going to show you where you can find it on the screen if you like to touch around the screen. So let's start with the top left hand corner of a Farkle page. Back button. As it just states, the back button is at the very top left hand corner of the screen. As I flick to the right, chat button. Chat with your opponent. We have the chat, and it says to chat with your opponent. This can be quite fun if you're playing with somebody that you know, a friend or a coworker or such, or even somebody new you just like to talk with. You can chat with them as you're playing the game, which makes more things a little more fun for those that like to do some smack talking maybe and get to know those people that you're playing with. As I flick to the right, Farkle, you hear the word Farkle. This is quite important because this represents two things here. In this example, I heard just Farkle. There's really two different kind of Farkle games you can play. There's the regular Farkle game, and then there's the bonus Farkle game, which I'll get to at a later point. As I flick to the right, Player 1 Stats button. We get to the Player 1 Stats. You can find about the stats about Player 1 by double tapping on this and get all sorts of information about whom you played and what kind of points you've been receiving and things like that. As I flick to the right, 300. So this is my total value that I have so far in this game. I have 300 total points. As I flick one more to the right, 300. My opponent and challenger also has 300 points. Player 2 Stats button. As I flick to the right, now you can find out more information about the Player 2 stats. So if you're interested about the person that you're playing, you can go in their statistical information and find out more about them. As I flick to the right, Round 2. We are now currently in Round 2. So we've already played Round 1. There are no maximum set of rounds, and there's no minimum sets of rounds. Like I said at the top of the tutorial, is that the first person that achieves the highest score above 10,000 points wins the Farkle game. So this can go on forever, or it can go very short. It's just depending how lucky you are and your opponent. So I flick to the right. Equals enemy mouse equals. That is me. That's my name. That is my player name for the dice world. And as I flick to the right, 0. 0. Currently in Round 2, I have 0 points awaiting for me to either to pass or roll. As I flick to the right, Male 6. That is my opponent's name, Male 6. Alright. So basically, what I've covered is primarily the top section of the screen. So for those that want to know kind of more what the placement looks like on the top of the screen, no problem. Let me give you a little idea how it works. At the top left, we have found that was the back button. Back button. To the right upper hand corner is the chat button.
Chat button. Chat with your opponent.
Okay. Now right below the chat, now we're on the right side of the screen. Let's go see what we have. So I go put my finger on the chat.
Chat button.
And then I put
Chat
my
with your opponent.
fingers and I'll scroll down. I'll just kind of glide towards below my chat.
Player 2 stats. Button.
Is my player 2 stats. And below this,
Male 6.
that is my opponent's and challenger's name. Let's go back to the left side of the screen. The top left.
Back button.
Is that back button. Now if you slowly go down,
Farkle.
you get the Farkle type game.
Player 1 stats. Button.
You get my player 1 statistic button.
Equals enemy mouse equals.
And below that is my name. Now towards the center involves where the points are and what round you're in. And to find those easily, let's go back to the back button at the top left.
Back button.
Go down.
Farkle.
Now go to the right.
300.
There's my score. Keep going to the right.
300.
And there's my opponent's score. Now below these points,
round 2,
is the current round that you're in. And below this,
0,
is the current point that I have for this particular round. Now in the middle of the screens are the rounds. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of rounds to show you, but I can show you an example what you could see and expect in the center part of the screen. So if you were to go to find your opponent's name,
300. Player 2 stats. Button. 300. Player 2 stats. Male 6.
Here we go. As I find my male 6 and I flick to the right,
300. Round 1.
she will state that there's 300, round 1. This means that I got 300 points, which is the far left first number that's being pronounced, and the second number that's announced is 300, and that's how many points that she got in that first round. If you have more rounds, you can just keep flicking to the right, and it'll tell you how many points you got and how many points they got and what round that points was received at. I don't usually generally go to these rounds, but they can be useful just to kind of find out how they're beating you and try to figure out some ways how to catch up with them and things like that. I suppose you could use that for that. But the core part of this is not only the scores toward the top, but it's the bottom. Now, at the bottom, we have quite a few things to go over. We have our dices, and we have a variety of different places you can go to see things. So, without further ado, let's go and explore. At the bottom left-hand corner, we have the roll button. I'm going to go ahead and flick to the cross from the bottom row to the right, so to give you an idea what to expect in the bottom row. As I flick to the right,
bank button
is my bank button. This is the button that you want to press when you're ready to pass to your opponent or challenger.
0.
Currently, I have 0 points for this round. So let's keep flicking to the right.
Gold balance.
Gold balance. This is very essential, and you'll be using this quite often if you play in any type of bonus games. Farkle is one of those examples you can play a Farkle bonus game. And I'll explain more about the Farkle bonus as we get further into this tutorial. And as you flick one more to the right,
5,582. Gold balance.
This is how many gold I have in my bank. Yes, that's a lot of gold. Maybe someday you'll get as much as I do, but for now you know where the gold balance is. Okay. Now above the bottom left-hand corner, let's go back to the roll button.
Roll button.
If you go up and drag your finger up once,
4 dimmed button,
you'll get to the 4th die of the 6 dice that are available. Above the 4 die is the
1 dimmed button. 4 dimmed. 1 dimmed button.
Is the 1 die. Now to the right of this 1 die
2 dimmed
is the
button.
2nd die, and the right of this
3 dimmed
is
button.
the 3rd die. Now if I go back to the 1st die, which is at the very far left,
1 dimmed button,
and I take my finger and drag it down,
4 dimmed button.
this is my 4th die. And if I go one to the right of this,
5 dimmed button.
this is my 5th die. And one more to the right of this,
6 dimmed button.
it's my 6th die. So as you can see, and visually in your mind, there's 6 dice are here, but they're stacked on top of each other by 3. So the first 3 dice are on top of the second set of 3 die on the bottom. Now let's go back to the bottom right-hand corner where we had the gold balance.
5,582. Gold balance.
If you take your finger and go up slightly,
Custom dice button.
we have the custom
Choose
dice.
custom dice.
I will get to this at a later point of this tutorial as well. And if I keep going up,
Rules button.
we have the rules
Web view with
button.
Farkle rules.
This is a great place. This is a written statement how the rules play and how the objective is for Farkle. So if you like to read this on your own, you can do so. Plus, I also encourage you to come in here and read this too, because it'll tell you all the different types of scores and what they're worth. So this is something very important that I would go if you're new to this game. Now if you go up one more,
Help dimmed button. To see possible moves.
it's a help. Basically, I really prefer this as a hint. The wonderful developer that created the Dice World gave us a little bit of a help and a little bit of nudge, so we don't have to do a whole lot of thinking if you don't want to, but it gives you hints based on the roll that you just rolled. It'll give you suggestions that you can take for points. Now keep in mind, you don't have to take what it hints and gives you suggestions. You can, but you can do whatever you feel. Sometimes I feel I will take the advice, and sometimes I want to do something a little different. A skill, for will, I guess you could say. Alright, so you pretty much understand how the layout consists and is presented to us. The one thing I do want to note to you before we move on, the one thing I didn't do is that the dice number 1,
dimmed button.
as I flick to the right,
2 dimmed button.
you get the 2,
3 dimmed button.
and the third die, as I presented before. However, if you're not doing the touch approach and you're doing the flicking approach, I just want to warn you that the layout is a little bit quirky, but that's how the layout works. So if I flick one more to the right from the third die,
Help dimmed button.
I get to the help,
To see rules button. Web view with Farkle rules.
and then I flick one more, it gets to the rules, and then after this,
4 dimmed
I
button.
get the fourth die,
5
the
dimmed
fifth
button.
die,
6 dimmed
the
button.
sixth die, and then after this,
Custom dice button.
it's that custom
Choose
dice.
custom dice.
And if you flick one more time,
Roll button.
we're now to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. So this is up to you and how you would like to play the game. I like to touch it around, preferably. It goes a little bit faster for myself. But sometimes, if you like to flick around, not a problem. Let's go ahead and do our first roll and see what we get. So I'm going to go to the bottom left-hand corner.
Roll button.
And I'm going to do a single finger double tap on the roll.
Roll. Possible moves are 2 1s plus 100 each.
Okay. The game just gave us a hint. There's 2 1s. I can take the 2 1s for 100 each for a whopping 200 points for this round. I am going to just select the 1s. So let's find out where the 2 1s are. So I'm going to use my finger and find the first die.
3 button.
That's the 3 on the first die.
4 button.
There's 4 on the second die.
6 button.
There's a 6 on that third die.
4 button.
Let's see here.
Roll 4 button. 1 button.
Oh, there it is. So the
4
4 is on the fourth die.
1 button.
1 is on the fifth die.
1 button.
And 1 is at the sixth die. Now, to be able to select those points, what you have to do is do a single finger double tap. So I'm going to keep this 1 by doing a single finger double tap.
Bank score is 100.
Now I have a total bank score of 100. Now you have 2 options from here. Actually, you have 3. If you want to select the other one, you can go ahead and do so and double tap on that 1, and you get a whopping bank of 200 points. The other 2 options either I can press my luck and keep rolling before I want to pass this on to my opponent and challenger. Or 2, at the very bottom above the home button is your bank button, and if you just single finger double tap on the bank, you'll pass that round to your opponent and challenger. And then from them, they'll do their rolls until they're finished, and they'll pass it to you for a new set of round. Okay. I decided just to keep the 1 1s, so let's go ahead and keep rolling. So I'm going to go back to the bottom left-hand corner.
Roll button.
Do a single finger double tap.
Roll. Possible moves are 3 5s. Plus 500.
Boom. That's exactly what I was looking for. So if you press your luck, you might get something better. Because originally I had 2 1s. I could have had a total whopping of 200 points. But here, now I just got 3 5s. And plus I had the 1 from the last round. So that'll give me 600 points. So that is a great round. Now keep in mind, when I selected the 1 die in the last roll, that gives you only 5 dice for that roll. So the less dice you have to roll with, the higher the chance you'll get a Farkle. So keep that in mind. You don't roll all 6 die at every roll. So I'll show you an example. Let's go back to our first die here.
5. Button.
There's one of the 5s. I'm going to go ahead and do a single double tap on this 5.
Bank score is 150.
I'm going to flick to the right.
5. Button.
That's the second die. There's another 5. I'm going to do a single finger double tap.
Bank score is 200.
And now I'm up to 200 points. Flick one more to the right.
5. Button.
And that's the last 5. Now remember, the 3 5s is represented 3 of a kind, which is 500 points. So as I do a single finger double tap on this,
bank score is 600.
I'm getting up to 600. And that's because I had the 3 5s and the 1 1, which gives me a total of 6. Now you will see on the 4th die,
3. Button.
is a 3, so that's a new number. And see what on the 5th die,
6. Button.
is a 6. So those aren't any points. So now I'm left with 2 die left. Do I want to press my luck and roll again with a chance of getting some more points with the 2 die left, or do I bank it and pass it? For me, I'm going to bank and pass it because I think that probably the best wise move to do. So let's go to the bank button.
Bank button.
There's a bank button. Now do a single finger double tap and
next game button available.
Cash out. And now you just have sent this Farkle game to your opponent and challenger. As you just heard, it says next game. So there is another game on my list of people that are waiting for me to play them. Now a couple notes to mention. To remember that for every roll that you make, let's say I got 3 2s and I got for 200 points in my first roll. I select those 3 2s and I do a roll. Now if I roll 3 more 2s, you would think I have a 6 of a kind. Well, that doesn't work that way, unfortunately. It only works on per roll. So with 3 2s, again, you'll get 200 more points. So from the first roll with the 3 2s with 200, and the second roll, I got another set of 2s which for another 200 points. Gives you a set of 400 points total. So there's no combination allowed from each different rolls that you do. Now, because if I did get 3 2s at the top in the first round and 3 2s on the bottom set, on the second roll, once again, I use all 6 die and they're all worth some sort of points, then I can hit roll and then it'll give me 6 new die to play with. And yes, you'll get to be able to keep the 400 points you made from those 2 rolls you had before. Unless you get a Farkle, then you lose everything you had. Anytime you get a Farkle, regardless if you rolled 3 2s in the first roll and I rolled again to press my luck, even though I had the 200 before in the last roll, if you decide to keep rolling and if you ever get a Farkle, you will get 0 points. You will lose your 200 points for this example. Now, the exception is if you decide to bank and pass it to your challenger and poser, that's not a problem. So in this case, I had the 3 5s and a 1, which was 600 points. I now have a total of 600 points that I have just banked on top of the 300 I had from last round. So let's go back to the top real quick and see if this is correct. I should be up about
back button.
1,000 points if I believe. Let's check.
Chat button.
So I keep looking to
Chat
the
with
right.
Farkle. Player 1 stats button. 900.
Oh, 900 points. My addition was wrong on that one because that would make sense. Okay, so 900 points is total I have so far in my round. And flick one more to the right.
300.
Is 300 is my opponent's. I hope this tutorial was very helpful and easy to understand. If you have any questions or have any suggestions, please feel free to contact the developers themselves at Dice World. And before I let you go, I did not forget to tell you about the bonus Farkle game, plus the dice downloads you can get. Okay, I mentioned before that at the top, if you heard the Farkle itself, there are two types of Farkle games. There's Farkle, the regular Farkle, and there's a Farkle bonus games. And basically, a Farkle bonus game, this is use your gold points. You can earn gold by winning games, buying golds, or tweeting, or sending out Facebook notice status about your Dice World game, and those can be found on the main menu of the Dice World game, and they can achieve more gold points for you as well. In the Farkle bonus game, you're going to be able to use a gold because if you Farkle on a single round, for example, let's say I got 3 2s for 200 points, and I decided to press my luck and roll. Oh, by golly, I Farkled. Well, have no fear. If you're in the Farkle bonus game, it will give you the option to say, hey, would you like to use a gold so you can be able to continue with your roll? And you can say yes or no, thank you, just pass and move along. If you accept the challenge and say, yes, I do want to play on, use one of my gold and I can continue to roll my dice. Now, keep in mind, you can only use this once per round. So once I roll my 3s, 2s, and I rolled again, I got a Farkle, gives me the chance to use 1 gold. I'll take my chance, take the 1 gold. Now I can re-roll my dice. I still continue to have my 200 points, and I roll, and hopefully I get a point or 2, and then I'll go ahead and decide to bank it or pass it on. The last thing I want to show you
Custom dice. Dimmed. Button.
is the custom
Choose
dice.
custom dice.
The custom dice is an area that you may be of interest as well. This allows you to customize the dice you have. They can be based on levels that you have achieved. They could be like silver, gold, platinum, all sorts of different kind of dice that you can get. For those that like to be a little more original, you can also buy dice. There's crossbones and things like that. So you can see within that button there, just double tap on that, and it'll show you the variety of dices that you can achieve or purchase with your gold. So keep that in mind, that is also there as well. Okay, well, from here, I hope that you're ready for your Farkle game, and good luck. And we'll see you later, and have fun.